Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And I believe we're going to be taking a look at some of the worst ranked dancer battles from the second season of Street Woman Fighter. I believe this one is the rookie class, so it would be between Rena and Bucky. And I'm very excited about it, see how this is going to go, and let's take a look.
You guys ready? Let's go, fight!
Okay. Oh, bueno, that.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, switch. Rena from Buckey. Let's go. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, battle set.
Okay, let's take a look here. So, from the top, we have Bucky going first for Mana Queen. So we know that Bucky comes from more of a crump background, right? So how she sets it up, even in the pocket, the type of song that this is too. It's definitely one that's more, you know, it is hip hop, but you could do crump on it because the backbeat it has that aggressive bass that you can hit a lot of jabs, hooks, and you can hit a lot of stomps. And buck, you can just go buck with it. You know, it's just the vibe is there for that. Something I'm noticing with Bucky, just an overall note, is a lot of times her upper body. Now, there's a particular posture that because I've studied a lot of crumpers. I've partaken in crump sessions before. Do I call myself a crumper? No. I consider myself more a waver, which is the opposite end of the spectrum. I feel it feels like sometimes, but I think it's good to be a student of multiple styles and crafts because it helps you understand your own craft in a different way. It can enhance your own craft, as well as it makes you more aware of the difficulties and be able to, especially if you adjudicate at all, it's really good to be able to empathize to a certain degree the level of difficulty certain skills are, so you can properly adjudicate it, even if it doesn't appear to look as difficult as another style that you're comparing, which is really good in this context. So something I'm noticing is that with her posture, she is taking a very isolated approach, which a lot of times some crump drills, you really want to kind of refine your ISOs because it can help create this overly reverbed kind of posture that a lot of people use as a form of dynamics. I do as well. But I want us to notice though that a lot of times some of her connection with her arm movements do feel a little bit not as clear as they could be, right? So it is not about speed, because even though I've slowed it down, it's still unclear where her point A to point B is, and that's something that you want to strive to have in whenever you freestyle. In choreography too, of course, we have that kind of naturally integrated in how we choreograph. You want things to make sense, whether it's through the choreography, content, the formation, the location, the costuming, which is, you know, Mega Cruise, that was probably another criteria, is how clear was your concept, you know? And that's something that is important to note here. And with what she's doing, you know, I really like a lot of her choices, but some of her choices do not connect as well as they could. you know. So that's just kind of my overall note I'm noticing here. I like how she, you know, I like the walk through. Yeah. But it really feels like she's not ingraining herself in the music, like where the hood at, you know, like this is kind of like that kind of bounce that you have with this kind of song. Now she's taking a crump approach to it, which is fine, absolutely fine. I've already mentioned why this could work 100%, but just kind of note that it really does appear, and I think a lot of it has to do with her torso. It doesn't feel, remember, this is just my educated guessing, and my personal feedback has nothing to do with, you know, anything. It's just my opinion. I personally feel that her torso is kind of limiting how her movement is integrating in her music, because you want to be a part of the music, collaborate with your music. You don't want to dance on top of it, nor do you want the music to be sound on top of you, right? So I like that sequence, doom doom drop, like that was really nice. Yeah, and I think like whenever she does this here and then whenever she resets, I think it's a mix of like, because we don't know where it finished, it's hard to know where it's starting. And I think that's my overall note for Bucky that I noticed here, is she's trying a lot of really complex ideas, and then she's approaching again, which I think is fine because she's still dancing. She's not just walking like we've seen in other cases. But I think that's just my overall note, is that she's staying, and what I mean by like her torso, I'm talking about right here. So like this part of her body is kind of chilling on the midline. So what I mean by the midline is like you have your up top, your, well, in the air, standing, then you have your like midline, which is right here, then you have your crouching, and then you have your floor. So there's like a good 5 kind of areas you can navigate whenever you dance, and it's always good to try to strive for all of them, and sometimes it's unnecessary to strive for all of them, but Mega Crew more so than in this case here. But just when you notice, like, she really didn't do much with her torso outside of keeping it here, you know. We didn't really swing it down low nearly as much, we didn't really bring it back as much. It's just kind of chilled right here in the center, which can work in some cases, but there's a chance that worked against her, especially with who she's against, with Rena. And she's got a hip-hop song. People want it. I like how she is setting up her circles. So this is something that breakers do a lot of times. So whenever you see them kind of top rock around, they're establishing where they're going to be dancing. That's just kind of like a thing that you do. There is a reason behind it. It's just like, it's really just to establish, hey, it's my turn. This is where I'm setting it up. Let's go. Something that we noticed with Rena is her movement is more clear. She is hitting different parts of her music, probably because she does know it, right? Or she knows that because it's repeating enough, she was able to catch what parts repeat so she can ride on them. I will say there was one little instance that she had where she had this big energy. Just get what people want to. Yeah, and what's interesting is she chose to chill out in a part where normally it's really hype. So I think that one move with that little sequence of sound, I think didn't, it wasn't as collaborative as if she did that on the not the people want it, you know. But with jump, there's a lot of wordplay you can do, a lot of, you know, whenever you think about just how high it is, and how loud and how that bass is present, there's really not a lot of layers you can ride, and for there, that could be a potentially risky layer to ride because it's so, you can't really hear it, you know. And I think that's just my note there. But the thing is that I really like the variety that she's bringing here, though. Yeah, so I feel too that Rena's running into a very similar problem that Bucky is, but she's getting away with it a little bit easier, because notice here that she is doing a lot with her hands, but what's coming with that is she's not super making as clear choices as she could be with those hands. And she is trying to make it loud and big and movement, but then also subtle at the same time. And the connection of the transitions is something that I think both dancers, I think both could develop or figure out new ways to channel their artistry with their transitions. Like, I like that. Like, that was a nice little chill moment. Like, I like her usage of her torso and then how she chose to use her chest to kind of trigger her, what her knees were doing. I really like that. That was fun. Yeah, but I would say this is another example. So for me, like I said, I have a waving background. And so one thing that we really strive to do whenever you do any sort of waving is you want it to make sense and complete itself. Even if the intention is to cut it off, to start something else, it has to be clear with the intention that you're doing that. And something that Rena did is she cut off her movement. That right there. So she goes boom, hit, and then she hops forward. Like she hits, but she didn't take it anywhere. You know what I mean? It felt more so like, because her energy was pushing her forward, she just worked with it, which is very similar to what happened. I think Red League, I've already reacted to her. That's something that happened to her with her set. That right there, she goes back, and then as she starts to go back, she hops forward, but it's not a clear transition into that. So that's just like my little note with that. And then she's doing some ambidextrous kind of grooves on side to side, which do work if you don't do it too much. Yeah. But it feels though that we're running into a very similar problem that Bucky had, which is she's starting to tighten up her torso a little bit here when she's trying things and she's trying to like approach in this way, which is different than what she did do the last time I saw her. But this is something that like, I like that moment, dude, when she builds it and then she builds it up some more. That's a really nice, that's a kind of something that you could do dynamically in crump, you know? So she goes 2 to the side and then she doubles it up. So that was a really nice choice. Yeah, so like she's going and she's approaching Bucky and everything, which is totally fair game, right? And so I think that's just my overall note for both of them. I think if they have a very similar thing. And she started on Harlem, but it's okay that she didn't finish it because she took it somewhere from there. Like that's an example of where it's okay to not complete a typical movement that you would choose from your setup. I like this, which was nice, and then she bled it over into something else. That's a really good choice there, but also notice she already did that earlier in her set. So that's another thing. She's trying to repeat her fingerprints. She body rolled down again. And that was fun too. So I would say overall, both of them are pretty even in regards to they both carry the same area of growth. I think like both of them could be more intentional about their transitions a little bit better. And look, remember, it's just my opinion. And most of my feedback that I give for these is because I too struggle with it, or I have struggled with it. For in this case, I do struggle with repetitiveness for myself because I'm still growing in the technique of waving. And so a lot of times I focus on just the textbook grade versus the artistic side of it. It's really hard to do whenever you're so used to a choreographic headspace. Now, I'm not saying like both of them probably have freestyle experience. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying or discrediting that. I'm just giving my opinion, you know? So all in all, if I were to pick like who won this, I would probably, it wouldn't be by far margin at all. I'd probably give it to Rena because she had more clear movements in how she rode her beat. There was a couple times where how she chose to ride her beat were a little bit, left to be desired, where she could have ridden it in a different way, but also that's just my preference, so it doesn't really matter, right? And then with Bucky, honestly, if either one, I think I'd be completely content with it, but if I had to pick, I would have picked Rena. Now with Bucky, I really love whenever I get to see a crump posture. Do I feel like there was an over tension that was happening with her torso that I felt like was limiting a lot of her range as a crumper? Yes. I really feel like I saw her more as a crumper in the crew battle. Like she really popped off there. And then when I saw her in the mega crew. So I think I'm also referencing it off of that, which may not be fair in this case. Because once again, I'm assuming that the crew battle happened before this did. Because this appears to be after the dance rank mission, right? This is before mega. So we haven't seen her in mega crew yet. I'm assuming. Remember, it's just my educated guess here. But all in all, that's why I would pick Rena in this case. But we do know that Superkill made a early departure in the show, and Mana Queen's still here. So I know that this is one battle in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the whole show. I did really enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. Just because I look and I notice something doesn't mean that I'm not sitting here vibing it out. I love it when people exchange. I love dances. I love dancing. I love watching it. I love observing it. Hence why I enjoy making these videos so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. If you're wanting more Street Woman Fighter content, or any content for that matter, you can check over in Patreon. I always have videos that are unreleased on YouTube on there. They will eventually make their way to YouTube. They just may not be there as early as other videos are. Yeah, I'm very excited to continue watching the show. Always a fan of it, and I can't wait to get into discussions for this one. So I will catch you guys later. Bye.